Hey, fifth grade, it's Mrs. Pritchard. I'm just going to continue with the read aloud where Miss Allie left off. And like she said, we are on page 71 if you're following along. And this one is, like she said, called The Cheese Touch, which is just an unusual title. So we'll dive right in. And some of these names are a little hard, so I'll do my best pronouncing them. Okay. I noticed not too long ago that even though people were getting used to me, no one would actually touch me. I didn't realize this at first because it's not like kids go around touching each other that much in middle school anyway. But last Thursday in dance class, which is like my least favorite class, Mrs. Antinabai, the teacher, tried to make Exmina Chin my dance partner. Now I've never actually seen someone have a panic attack before, but I've heard about it. And I'm pretty sure Eczema had a panic attack at that second. She got really nervous and turned pale and literally broke into a sweat within a minute. And then she came up with some lame excuse about really having to go to the bathroom. Anyway, Mrs. A let her off the hook because she ended up not making anyone dance together. Then yesterday in my science elective, we were doing this cool mystery powder investigation where we had to classify a substance as an acid or a base. Everyone had to heat their mystery powders on a heating plate and make observations. So we were all huddled around the powders with our notebooks. Now, there are 8 kids in the elective, and 7 of them were squished together on one side of the plate, while one of them, me, had loads of room on the other side. And so, of course, I noticed this, but I was hoping Mrs. Rubin wouldn't notice this because I didn't want her to say something. But of course, she did notice this, and of course, she said something. Guys, there's plenty of room on that side. Tristan, Nino, go over there, she said. So Tristan and Nina scooted over to my side. Tristan and Nino have always been okay nice to me. I want to go on record as saying that. Not super nice, like they go out of their way to hang out with me, but okay nice. Like they say hello to me and talk to me like normal. And they didn't even make a face when Mrs. Rubin told them to come on my side, which a lot of kids do when they think I'm not looking. Anyway, everything was going fine until Tristan's mystery powder started melting. He moved his foil off the plate just as my powder began to melt too, which is why I went to move mine off the plate. And then my hand accidentally bumped into his hand for a fraction of a second. Tristan jerked his hand away so fast, he dropped his foil on the floor while also knocking everyone else's foil off the heating plate. Tristan, yelled Mrs. Rubin. But Tristan didn't even care about the spilled powder on the floor or that he ruined the experiment. What he was most concerned about was getting to the lab sink to wash his hands as fast as possible. That's when I knew for sure that there was this thing about touching me at Beecher Prep. I think it's like the cheese touch in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. The kids in that story were afraid they'd catch the cooties if they touched the old moldy cheese on the basketball court. At Beecher Prep, I'm the old moldy cheese. So again, just imagine if the fact that he accidentally touched Augie, he had to go wash his hands really quick. And so again, just how would that make you feel, right? We've all heard of the word cooties. So again, he's not feeling really great. Okay, the next chapter we're going to read is called Costumes, which always makes me think of Halloween. For me, Halloween is the best holiday in the world. It even beats Christmas. Why do you think he would like Halloween more than Christmas? Just kind of think about that. I get to dress up in a costume and I get to wear a mask. I get to go around like every other kid with a mask and nobody thinks I look weird. Nobody takes a second look. Nobody notices me. Nobody knows me. I wish every day could be Halloween. We could all wear masks all the time and then we could walk around and get to know each other before we get to see what we looked like under the masks. When I was little, I used to wear an astronaut helmet everywhere I went, to the playground, to the supermarket, via from school. Even in the middle of the summer, though, it was so hot my face would sweat. I think I wore it for a couple of years, but I had to stop wearing it when I had my eye surgery. I was about 7, I think. And then we couldn't find the helmet after that. Mom looked everywhere for it. She'd figured that it had probably ended up in Grand's attic, and she kept meaning to look for it, but then I had gotten used to not wearing it. I have pictures of me in all my Halloween costumes. My first Halloween, I was a pumpkin. My second, I was Tigger, Miss Campbell. My third, I was Peter Pan. My fourth, I was Captain Hook. My fifth, I was an astronaut. And my sixth, I was Obi-Wan Kenobi. My seventh, I was a clone trooper. My eighth, I was Darth Vader. My ninth, I was the Bleeding Scream, the one that has fake blood oozing out all over the skull mask. This year, I'm going to be Boba Fett. No, Boba Fett, the kid in Star Wars 2, Attack of the Clones, but Boba Fett the man from Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Mom searched everywhere for the costume but couldn't find one in my size, so she bought me a Jango Fett costume since Jango was Boba's dad and wore the same armor, and then painted the armor green. She did some other stuff to make it look worn too. Anyway, it looks really, totally real. Mom's good at costumes. In homeroom, we all talked about where we're going to be for Halloween. Charlotte was going as Hermione from Harry Potter. Jack was going as a wolf man. I heard that Julian was going as Jango Fett, which was a weird coincidence. I don't think he liked hearing that I was going as Boba Fett. On the morning of Halloween, Via had this big crying meltdown about something. Via's always been so calm and cool, but this year she's had a couple of these kind of fits. Dad was late for work and was like, Via, let's go, let's go. Usually Dad is super patient about things, but not when it comes to us being late for work, and his yelling just stressed out Via even more, and she started crying louder. So Mom told Dad to take me to school and that she'd deal with Via. Then Mom kissed me goodbye quickly before I even put on my costume and disappeared into Via's room. Augie, let's go now, said Dad. I have a meeting and I can't be late for it. I haven't put my costume on yet, so put it on already. 5 minutes, I'll meet you outside. I rushed to my room and started to put on my costume. But all of a sudden, I didn't feel like wearing it. I'm not sure why. Maybe because it had all these belts that needed to be tightened and I needed someone else to help me. Or maybe it was because it still smelled a little like paint. All I knew was that it was a lot of work to put the costume on, and Dad was waiting and would get super impatient if I made him late. So at the last minute, I threw on the bleeding scream costume from last year. It was such an easy costume, just a long black robe and a big white mask. I yelled goodbye from the door on my way out, but Mom didn't even hear me. I thought you were going as Jango Fett, said Dad when I got outside. Boba Fett, whatever, said Dad. This is a better costume anyway. Yeah, it's cool, I answered. Okay, so the next chapter is the bleeding scream. So I'm going to kind of go into what happens when he wears it. Walking through the halls that morning on my way to the locker was, I have to say, absolutely awesome. Everything was different now. I was different. Where I usually walked with my head down trying to avoid being seen, today I walked with my head up looking around. I wanted to be seen. One kid wearing the same exact costume as mine, long, white skull face, oozing fake red blood, high-fived me as we passed each other on the stairs. I have no idea who he was, and he had no idea who I was. And I wondered for a second if he would ever have done that if he'd known it was me under the mask. I was starting to think this was going to go down as one of the most awesome days in the history of my life. Then I got to homeroom. The first costume I saw as I walked inside the door was Darth Sidious. It had one of the rubber masks that are so realistic with a big black hood over the head and a long black robe. I knew right away it was Julian, of course. He must have changed his costume at the last minute because he thought I was coming as Django. He was talking to two mummies who must have been Miles and Henry. And they were all kind of looking at the door like they were waiting for someone to come through it. I knew it wasn't a bloody scream they were looking for. I was going to go and sit at my usual desk, but for some reason, I don't know why, I found myself walking over to a desk near them, and I could hear them talking. One of the mommies was saying, "It really does look like him." Like this part especially, answered Julian's voice. He put his fingers on the cheeks and eyes of his Darth mask. Actually, said the mommy, what he really looks like is one of those shrunken heads. Have you ever seen those? He looks exactly like that. I think he looks like a orc. Oh, yeah. If I looked like that, said the Julian voice, kind of laughing, I swear to God, I'd put a hood over my face every day. I've thought about this a lot, said the second mommy, sounding serious. And I really think if I looked like him seriously, I think I'd kill myself. You would not, answered Darth. Yeah, for real, insisted the same mommy. I can't imagine looking in the mirror every day and seeing myself like that. It would be too awful. And getting stared at all the time? Then why do you hang out with him so much? Asked Darth. I don't know, answered the mommy. Tushman asked me to hang out with him at the beginning of the year, and he must have told all the teachers to put us next to each other in all the classes or something. The mommy shrugged. I knew the shrug, of course. I knew the voice. I knew I wanted to run out of class right then and there. But I stood there where I was and listened to Jack Will finish what he was saying. I mean, the thing is, he always follows me around. What am I supposed to do? Just ditch him, said Julian. I don't know what Jack answered because I walked out of class without anyone knowing I'd been there. My face felt like it was on fire while I walked back down the stairs. I was sweating under my costume and I started crying. I couldn't keep it from happening. The tears were so thick in my eyes I could barely see, but I couldn't wipe them through the mask as I walked. I was looking for a little tiny spot to disappear into. I wanted a hole I could fall inside of, a little black hole that would eat me up. So we're going to stop there. And that really disappoints me because I know I agree with a lot of you, and I thought Jack Will was different. I thought he was going to be his friend, but sounds like he's kind of jumping on the bandwagon and saying what everyone else is saying about Augie. Okay, so next time, Mr. T is going to continue on page 79. You guys are going to be on names. Okay, have a good week, you guys.